For more on this now, we're joined by lawyer Justin Ramage. Thank you so much for joining us. As we've just said, the public protector, very, very busy. But let's focus a bit on what she's busy with today. Now, it's in response to that High Court finding in May, which found her, who set aside her report on the Estina dairy farm. They called it invalid and unconstitutional. She was accused of protecting senior politicians who were allegedly involved, those names being front and center at the Zondo Commission this week, as well as we heard from those farmers who were affected in a very, very real way. What kind of tactics do you think, from a legal point of view, she would go with to the High Court to appeal that finding against her back in May?
So obviously she has to focus on the recharacterization of her abilities. I mean, it's not only the High Court that came back and said, listen, there's some problems with your application of the law and how you apply it, and also you're kind of partisan in your consideration of the facts before you. We see the Constitutional Court come out and they said, listen, there's inherent bias and there's some problems of the way you do things. So I think this is her opportunity, because there's been a number of cases in which there have been found gaping holes to be in the application and understanding of the law. So I think this is the first, or one of the first cases that we're seeing where there's a lot of pushback and saying, listen, I've applied the law, this is how I've done it. And so as much as it is to reverse or appeal the decision, it's also, if it's found that she was competent in the execution of her duties, then there's another narrative which plays against all of this other information that's coming to the public domain.
Now this, specifically this one today, is not the first time we've heard words like invalid and unconstitutional when it comes to her reports. I mean, she's going to start running out of fingers to try and put in those cracks in the damn wall. I mean, does she have to look at each case specifically, or is this against the backdrop that she feels herself that she's being attacked unfairly?
I think she has to appreciate these two things. And I think all the political parties are coming down and they're making a clear distinction between this office of the public protector and this person called the public protector. And we see the Constitutional Court come back and make a decision where you have to bear some of the costs because of your lack of ability. So sorry, just against this background, what she's faced with is the risk that she could be overturned. In addition to that, if she's found to be incompetent again, she's already got a 900,000 order against her. I think last time I checked, she earned something like 2.1 million. Right of tax, that's a lot of money to pay back. So I think it's becoming a personal financial burden. In addition to that, it could be a burden to the taxpayer. In addition to that, it really slants a negative light on the office of the public protector, at least in my view.
Your opinion, indeed, and that's why you're here as well. Now, we believe tomorrow the Legal Practice Council will determine whether Mkhwebane should be struck from the role of advocates. I mean, are we there yet? How much longer can she hold on for? Because it seems to be coming at her from all directions now. Sure.
And I think she has to accept that she's spread thin. You know, her office has certain battles to fight in a personal capacity. She has some issues. And now, really, that's off the backdrop of the Constitutional Court decision when it was first floated. Listen, she's an advocate. We assume that you have the competencies to conduct investigations of this nature. So when you make partisan or biased findings, we start to wonder. And the Constitutional Court was extremely scathing. So it's questions around, is she fit and proper to occupy or carry that cloak of advocacy, or can she execute the duties competently? And that's a difficult argument to make if you look at the thread of decisions that are not really in her favor.
Now, speaking about partisanship, which I feel probably those of you in your field of work would find probably the most dangerous accusation, there does seem to be a golden thread. She's gone after SARS, she's gone after the president, she's gone after Public Enterprises Minister Gordon.
Sure.
Is it time to call a spade a spade?
I think yes, and at the same time a loud resounding no. Just because I perform poorly at one aspect of something doesn't mean I've performed poorly at every aspect of my job. But if we look at all the high-profile cases, it's hard to look the other way, because if you test the value of this work and what you're supposed to be protecting the public, I think it smacks of something else.
And I suppose in your circles, perhaps you can give me some insight into that. You look at the Constitutional Court, and you look at entities like the Public Protector. That's supposed to be setting the bar for everybody in various fields in the legal fraternity.
Sure. And if you look at our previous Public Protector, the person, excellent performance. There's a lot of tensions around what she was doing, and she also had her own issues to sort out. But there wasn't a question about her ability to perform her work. I think this is a very different category of criticism labelled against the person of the Public Protector at the moment. And I mean, if we look at the current legal proceedings involving Pravin Gordhan, there's serious, in my view at least, misapplication of the law when it comes to that, especially with regard to the SARS rogue unit.
Okay, and SARS is very much in the headlines again today because we believe she's investigating an anonymous complaint that was brought to her with regards to the appointment of Edward Keswetter. So the pattern continues. Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. Lawyer Justin Ramage, thank you so much for your insight in this ongoing drama in the legal circles.